What if I told you your greatest fears, those whispered doubts you try to silence, are often rooted in a truth you never wanted to face? Imagine pouring your heart and soul into something, building it brick by brick, only to find cracks appearing where you least expected them. That gut feeling, that cold knot in your stomach. What if it's trying to tell you something vital, something that could shatter your world? If this resonates with you, if you've ever felt that unsettling flicker of unease about something you deeply care about, then this story is exactly for you. And before we dive in, do me a quick favor, will you? Go ahead and hit that like button right now. It's just a little gesture, but it means a lot to us, and it helps us know you're here. Also, tell us in the comments where you're watching from. It's amazing to see our global family grow. So, you think you know what's happening in your business, don't you? You're the CEO, you've got the reports, the numbers. But what if the true story, the raw, unfiltered truth, was unfolding in a place you'd never expect? What if it was happening in the most ordinary of moments? Today, we're going to talk about a CEO who, in a seemingly simple act of ordering a pizza from his own pizzeria, stumbled upon a conversation that froze him to his core. A conversation with a delivery driver that unraveled a secret so devastating it threatened to dismantle everything he had built. Let's dive in to see. David Sterling, a man whose name was synonymous with success in the casual dining world, had built his pizza empire, Slice of Heaven, from a single, humble storefront into a national sensation. He was a visionary, a meticulous planner, but even the most careful architects can miss a shifting foundation. Lately, something had been bothering him. Not in the numbers, not in the quarterly reports, which always looked stellar, but in the quiet whispers of his gut. A vague sense of disconnect, a feeling that the heart of his business, the very spirit he'd infused into every slice, was subtly, almost imperceptibly, slipping away. He usually avoided direct interaction with his own stores, preferring to oversee from a distance, trusting his regional managers and their teams, but the unease had grown into a persistent ache. He needed to see it, feel it, taste it for himself. So on a Friday evening, far from his usual office, David, under a new name, Dave Miller, and dressed in casual clothes he hadn't worn in years, drove to one of his newer locations, Slice of Heaven, Midtown. He pulled up in a rental car, a nondescript sedan, and parked a few blocks away, just to observe. The storefront glowed with the familiar warmth of his brand, the scent of baking dough and melting cheese wafting invitingly. He waited until the dinner rush was in full swing. Then, feeling a strange mix of anticipation and apprehension, he walked inside. The aroma was just as he remembered, comforting, nostalgic. He ordered a classic pepperoni pizza, his usual go-to, requesting it for pickup. He deliberately chose not to pay online, wanting to experience the full transaction. As he waited, he overheard fragments of conversations, the clatter of plates, the ringing of the register. It all seemed perfectly normal. Almost too normal. His eyes scanned the busy kitchen, the smiling faces of the counter staff. Everything was just as it should be, or so it appeared. Then, a voice, sharp and stressed, cut through the background noise. "Another one? Are you serious, Lena? I'm already out of gas, barely made anything tonight." David's head snapped towards the back, where a young man, clearly a delivery driver, was speaking to a woman at the dispatch counter. Lena, he presumed. The driver, a lean man with tired eyes, looked utterly defeated. His name tag read Caleb. Lena, her voice weary, responded, "I know, Caleb, but this is the last one for tonight. Promise." "It's a big order, good tip potential." Caleb sighed, a sound that carried the weight of exhaustion. "Potential doesn't pay for gas, Lena. My kid needs new shoes. I'm barely making ends meet with these routes." David felt a sudden chill. Barely making ends meet. This was a Slice of Heaven driver. His drivers were paid well, surely. He had always prided himself on fair wages, excellent benefits. This didn't fit. He leaned in subtly, trying to appear engrossed in his phone, but every fiber of his being was focused on their conversation. Lena lowered her voice, almost to a whisper. "Look, Caleb, I've been trying to tell them. The new routing system, it's a disaster. It sends you on these long, inefficient loops, burns through gas, and the tips just don't cover it anymore. They've cut our mileage reimbursement too, haven't you noticed? David's blood ran cold. Mileage reimbursement cut. This was news to him. His company's policy was clear: fair reimbursement for all delivery expenses. Was this a localized issue, a rogue manager, or something far more sinister? Caleb's voice was filled with a desperate resignation. Noticed? Lena, I'm working 60 hours a week, and I'm bringing home less than I did 2 years ago. My car's falling apart, and I can't afford the repairs. My wife, she just started working 2 jobs just to keep us afloat. I almost lost my apartment last month. We're barely surviving, Lena. His voice cracked, a raw emotional plea. I love this job, you know. I love getting to people's homes, seeing their faces light up when they get their pizza, but this isn't sustainable. It's like they want us to quit. David felt a profound sense of shame wash over him. His employees, the very people who were the face of his company, were struggling, while he, the CEO, was flying high on the success of his empire. How could this be happening right under his nose? What kind of leader was he if he didn't even know the truth of his own people's struggles? Lena placed a hand on Caleb's shoulder. I know, hon, it's happening to a lot of us. The new manager, Mr. Thornton. He's all about cutting costs, maximizing profits, no matter the human cost. He says it's corporate directives, but I don't buy it. He even tried to convince me to fudge the inventory numbers last week, said it would help hit our targets. David's heart pounded in his chest. Mr. Thornton. He knew the name. He was a regional manager David had recently promoted, impressed by his innovative cost-cutting strategies. Innovative indeed. Fudging numbers? Cutting mileage reimbursement? This wasn't just poor management, this was deception, betrayal. It's not right, Caleb continued, his voice heavy with despair. My dreams, my family's dreams, they feel so far away now. I used to think this job was a stepping stone, a way to save up for a small business of my own. Now, it feels like quicksand. Every day I feel myself sinking deeper. He pulled out his wallet, a few crumpled bills visible. I don't even have enough for gas to get home after this last delivery, let alone food for dinner. That was the breaking point for David. A wave of sorrow, tinged with fury, swept over him. Here was a dedicated employee, a man who loved his work, a man with dreams, being crushed by the very system David had created. His system, which was supposed to uplift, was now destroying. It was a stark reminder that behind every successful company are the people who make it run. And if those people are suffering, the company itself is sick. He realized his pizza was ready. As he walked to the counter, he made eye contact with Lena, a flicker of something unreadable in her tired eyes. He paid for his pizza, and then a sudden, desperate idea formed. Excuse me, David said, turning to Caleb. I couldn't help but overhear. I'm sorry to intrude, but you mentioned needing gas and food. Look, I just got paid and I over-budgeted for the week. He fumbled in his wallet, pulling out a crisp $100 bill. Please, take this. Consider it. A random act of kindness. No strings attached. Just, please, take care of yourself and your family. Caleb looked at the money, then at David, his eyes wide with disbelief, then a surge of emotion. Sir, I can't, thank you, but please, David insisted, gently pressing the bill into Caleb's hand. Think of it as a good karma, and maybe, he added, looking pointedly at Lena, someone needs to hear these stories. Someone needs to know what's really happening on the ground. Caleb's eyes welled up. Thank you, he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means. As David walked out with his pizza, the weight of the $100 bill in Caleb's hand felt heavier than any corporate profit. He got back into his rental car, but he didn't drive away immediately. He just sat there, the pizza box on the passenger seat, the smell of pepperoni, a bitter reminder of the sweetness that had been lost, the dreams of his employees, the integrity of his company. It was all being chipped away, not by external forces but from within, by those he had trusted. He thought of Caleb, and how many other Calebs were out there, toiling, struggling, their hopes slowly eroding, all while he, the CEO, remained blissfully ignorant in his ivory tower. The words of Lena echoed in his mind. "It's like they want us to quit," and the chill of betrayal intensified. This wasn't just about money. It was about trust, about dignity, about the fundamental human connection he had always believed was the backbone of Slice of Heaven. David knew, with a certainty that shook him to his core, that he couldn't let this stand. He couldn't let his legacy, built on hard work and fairness, be tarnished by the greed and deceit of a few. He had to act. He had to uncover every single truth, no matter how painful, and restore the heart of his company. Because a business, just like a person, cannot thrive when its most vital parts are slowly dying from neglect and abuse. And sometimes, the most profound lessons are learned not in boardrooms, but in the quiet desperation of an overheard conversation, a moment that freezes you, yet ignites a fierce fire for justice within. So, what do you think? Have you ever had a moment where a small interaction completely changed your perspective on something you thought you knew inside and out? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden truths of our world.